What's up, family? It is another Michael Jackson episode of Inner Thoughts. Continuing this series of things. This is just my random musings, things that I have found interesting, and that I've had conversations about regarding Michael Jackson. We're going to use a little bit of BCam today for some of this, so this would be more of a full, regular Inner Thoughts episode. Let's start with this. I was talking to my wife about this. We live in a world of a lot of celebrities and famous people, right? Michael Jackson wasn't famous. Well, he wasn't just famous. He was the most famous person in the world since he was like 8 years old. And I don't think we could fully wrap our minds around that. He wasn't just famous. He was the most famous person in the world from the day that we'll say 8 years old to the day that he died. Why? Obviously, the talent is immense. Obviously, the music catalog is legendary. Obviously, the personality is unique. But he was also reclusive. He's kind of the last. I won't say the last. Prince was a part of this group of people who were just more reclusive. They came out when they wanted to, put out projects when they wanted to, didn't do a lot of interviews. So when you got to see Michael, it was an event. It was special. You saw those concerts. People were getting carried. Could you imagine being at a Michael Jackson concert, paying whatever it costs to see a Michael Jackson concert, and you wake up in a pile outside of the arena and you miss the whole thing? Like, that was a regular occurrence at Michael Jackson concerts. We've never seen anything like that. We never will again. But I think there's a mental toll that takes on you. You can't do anything regular. There's nothing that you can do that's regular. You're constantly looking over your shoulder. If you ever listen to the History album, there's a lot of like paranoia with him. Some of it is probably valid. Some of it is just, I think, living under that spotlight for so long. And that gives me a certain amount of grace for some of the like antics, some of the behavior, some of the things that he did. Because I don't know what it would be like to live under that scrutiny essentially your whole life. From being a young kid, burst out into the scene. This kid with incredible voice, singing with his brothers. And then to be the biggest pop star we've ever seen, and the most famous person in the world, not just a really famous person, but the most famous person in the world for that long. I think there's a lot of weight that comes with that. Next, something that I think is interesting about Michael is that he just did some songs because he just wanted to dance. Like, yeah, cool, we work on these lyrics or whatever, but you hear this beat, I'm doing this to dance. I think Don't Stop Till You Get Enough is one of them. Honestly, I think Billie Jean is one of them. There's a story with it, but when you look at him perform it, he's getting some stuff off in that song. Another Part of Me, which is one of my favorite Michael Jackson songs. If you ever see him do it live, I watched one of the bad performances. I can't remember if it was in the UK. I think it was in the UK. And that song is super simple, 3 basic parts, but Michael is just getting the dance steps off. And I love that about him, right? Because we know him to be a great songwriter. We know him to be a person that put together great songs. But Michael still, at his core, is a kid from Gary, Indiana, who just loved to dance, who idolized James Brown, who you can see a lot of the similarities between those two. James Brown had some songs like, hey, yeah, we're going to sing about some stuff that matters. But at the end of the day, we're going to jam, we're going to dance, we're going to have a good time. And I love it. Another thing that I think is funny, I think a musician's point, I think, if anything else, when it came to live performances, Michael said, F them tempos. Like, I don't care what the tempo is. I want this faster for whatever reason. Do I want to get to the song faster? Maybe. But this also lets me get some of these dance moves off. He did it with the Jackson 5 catalog. When you saw him do those live, some of those songs, you're like, that is not the original tempo of this song. How they go get through it? Michael found a way to make it work. I think one of my like most crystallizing examples of this is Jam from the Dangerous album. Those verses are like, the verse is like a super hard cadence, and like you got to be really accurate with that. But when Michael does it live, I don't know if the tempo of that song, if we say the tempo of that song is 75, Michael's doing it at 125. And I don't know how he's getting all those words out. But he found a way to do it, and then he found a way to make a show from it. So I think I enjoy that about Michael, because I think there's something really cool vocally that you can do when you don't just follow strictly the rhythm of a song or the cadence of a song, where you can use your voice in different ways to not be offbeat, but not be right on beat. And I think Michael does that in really unique ways in a lot of his songs. Um, in his idea of tempos and how he changed them, particularly for live performance, I think played into that. Michael's voice was he used his voice differently when he was younger, off the wall era and before Jackson 5. Like he was really precise with his singing, but I feel like his voice became more of an instrument. It became percussive, it became rhythmic as he got older, and he used the emotion of his voice differently. And I think all of that plays into how you can kind of play with the tempos of songs. Even Human Nature, my favorite Michael Jackson song, um, he did it a lot faster during the performance, but you also saw him like really kind of get into his bag dancing and performing the song and the emotion of the song. Another thing was going back to the Jackson 5 era. Um, after watching the Michael Jackson movie, having watched quite a few documentaries of different things about him, no offense to anybody in the Jackson 5, legendary group, legendary members of the group. I don't know if we've seen a family group like that before. Um, but I see why Joe made him do the Victory Tour. Let's go to B Cam for this. Again, much respect to everybody in the Jackson 5. But I've watched some of the videos from the Victory Tour. I've watched videos from tours they did with, or shows they did with Michael and without Michael. The Jackson 5 was really about Michael. I mean, what he brought to the table, I think, lifted everybody else in that group. Obviously, his vocals are his vocals, his performance is performance. But I think the electricity that he brought um, is amazing. Fun fact about the Victory Tour: they did an album, I believe it was called Victory. Didn't do any of the songs from that album. It was older Jackson 5 stuff, even from the album before that, and Thriller. And I think Jermaine had a set where he did a couple of his hits. So they didn't do any songs from the Victory album, which is to me hilarious. Like Michael was like, "Look, if y'all are gonna make me do this tour, then we're gonna do it my way." Cool, cool. Um, so I always laugh about that. Like Joe really had to make him do that tour because that tour was not going to happen otherwise. And that tour, if you look at the story of it, look it up on your own time. You don't have time to go through it. There was just so many things that went horribly wrong on that tour, and it could have been a disaster. And for many people, it was a disaster. But um, you can't do it without Michael. But after also watching the movie, watching the documentaries, I see why Michael did what he did at the end of the tour, saying, "Hey, this is it. This is the last one. It's been a." To me, it's funny. He says it's been a long 20 years, but you gotta love Michael. He's gonna be honest. We always think of him as like a nice, fun, loving guy, kind guy. But when Michael is done, Michael is done. Can I just say this? We did not need a Michael Jackson in the internet era. Could you imagine Michael being on social media? Like we talk about people like Kevin Durant and his social media habits, some of these other celebrities. Could you imagine being the most famous person in the world? I repeat, and Michael Jackson having social media? Oh my God. I don't know. I don't know if we could have handled that. I don't know if we would have looked at Michael Jackson the same way if we had that. Um, Back to begin. So his history album is the first half of it I really like. There's parts of it that are a little much for me, but there's some great songs on there. But you listen to that album and Michael was a hater and he was very paranoid. Again, I said this before, some of that is warranted. Um, some of it may have been things that were going on with his health. But I what would Michael tweet about? Like what would Michael's tweet? He would have been wild on Twitter. Like just I can't even imagine. Like could you even think about if Michael was on Twitter like during the Trump administration? Like, oh my God. Like, thank God. Just thank God that we did not have to live through a Michael Jackson social media era. I love Michael. That would have been terrible. Same thing, like Michael Jordan did not need the internet. I firmly believe Michael Jordan would have been going flying to places and playing people one on one because Michael he does not take with the disrespect, and social media is so disrespectful. Um, So thank God that some of our stars, Mike Tyson, didn't need social media. Like we just don't need Mike Tyson barely hanging on to sanity, looking at people saying the wildest stuff to him on Twitter. So we should be thankful that some of our favorite stars did not have it. Lastly, watching the Michael movie, um, and then going back to This Is It, which is the movie about the last tour, the rehearsals. They were getting ready to do the tour. That movie is such a gift because one of the shortcomings of the movie, I felt like, is like we got nothing from like the creative side of Michael. The thing that we know that Michael the most for, to me, for the people that love him, is his music, how he made it, the intentionality he brought to his performances, to his recording, and we got like none of that. We got him like on the cork board doing some stuff. Spoiler alert: if you haven't seen the movie, whatever. At this point, no spoiler warning for me. Um, but This Is It is such a gift because we got to see the behind the scenes, how he thought, the way that he approached songs, the way that he approached rehearsal, even. I remember when they're doing I Can't Stop Loving You, and he's singing it with one of his background singers. And Michael is like, hey, I'm not, he's like warning them, I'm not warmed up. I need to, like, we're just doing a run through. And everybody's like, oh, cool, it's great for that, blah, blah, blah. But the girl that he's singing with is doing it. She's giving it all. And so Michael has to like go into his bag a little bit more than he wanted to, and people are going crazy. Like, can you imagine being in that room? Like all the dancers are in front of the stage, other crew members, and they're just going crazy because you're getting to see greatness right there. And he's like, "Oh no, like I shouldn't even be doing this," but it's like the creativity and just the love of music that you see from Michael. That, look, I can't just let this moment go. She's giving it her all. Now I gotta, like, it's a little bit of a competition. But that movie overall, that documentary film, is such a gift because we get to see so many of the behind the scene things, the way that he worked with musicians, the way that he worked with his choreographers, the relationship and trust that he had. Um, and we've seen videos of him talking about how much he didn't enjoy touring that much, how much it was hard. But I think that he really enjoyed the creative process leading up to the tour. And that movie is such a gift. And I wish that the Michael movie had given us just a little bit more of that. Some of the behind the scenes and Thriller, how Quincy helped to shape um, the Thriller album, and even the creative differences they had on the Bad album. I think all of that is important for people to see because Michael was a creative powerhouse. He was an amazing songwriter and artist, and he knew what he wanted. But I don't think any of that is diminished by the people that he worked with and how he allowed them to help shape the projects that he created. Um, this video went longer than I wanted to, but this is just a lot of stuff I've been thinking about after watching the Michael movie and thinking about the reasons why I love Michael Jackson. So what do you guys think? What are some of the things that have come to your mind as we've kind of entered this new season of Michael Jackson fandom with biopics and documentaries and things? What are some of the things that are like close to your heart, that you hold close to your heart when it comes to Michael? To me, he's the GOAT. He's the greatest. We will never have anything like him. We can try as we might. We can try to put labels on people, but we just will never see again. I'm gonna say it again. The most famous person in the world from when he was 8 years old till he died. We'll never see anything like that ever again. Definitely not in the social media area. Thank you guys for watching Inner Thoughts. Let me know what you think. We'll love to hear what your inner thoughts are about Michael Jackson. Keep it clean. Keep it fun. Inner Thoughts. It's your boy.